Welcome back to Wine Talk Wednesday. We are here at the Etzel Farm in Sequitur Winery with Mr. Mike Etzel. Mike, thanks for being here. Thanks for inviting us.
Well, my pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely. So, you've been in the valley for quite a while.
1986.
86. Tell us a little bit about your story. What brought you to Oregon?
Well, it was the summer of 1986, and my wife and I took a vacation out to Oregon, living in Colorado Springs. And the 1983 Pinot Noir in Oregon was exceptional. It was a very good vintage. And I just happened to have a child born in 1983. So part of the purpose of the vacation was to secure some 83 Oregon Pinot Noir plants, one of which was Elk Cove right down the road. And we made an appointment with Pat Campbell, who at that time, Adam Campbell's mother. She was running the tasting. And in those days, the tasting runs was a barrel standing up on edge and, a little pour. It was nothing like it is today. So in doing so, making that appointment, we happened to find this farm for sale. It was a foreclosure, the current Beaux Frères. And for entertainment purposes, my wife and I decided to go see what a $129,000 farm was like. Just under 90 acres, a couple barns, a house. Made the appointment, toured the property, and we purchased that afternoon. Not realizing what we had done or digesting what we have done, I called my Beaux Frères, my brother-in-law, and my sister, who happened to be a wine writer, Robert Parker. And I said, hey, I just bought a farm and I can't do it on my own. He jumped in 50-50 part. So the intent was originally just to grow grapes. Fast forward 5 years into it, weren't making money, wasn't a sustainable operation. So we turned the pig barn, we were raising pigs, into a winery. Came out with our first commercial vintage in 92. Fast forward, here we are, 40 years later. My partner sold their portion to the French. I retired out of Beaux Frères. My son is now managing the Beaux Frères property. And my wife and I bought 60 acres right next to the upper terrace of Beaux Frères. Most of it all timber, but we carved out a little 12-acre vineyard, calling it Sequitur. And our first commercial vintage was 2014, which you have on your list.
I do. Yeah, we have the 14 through 21.
Yes.
So I think we currently have probably the largest collection of your wines than any other restaurant.
I believe so, yes.
We love them.
Maybe the Allison may be competing with you, but two excellent restaurants that I'm very proud to be associated with.
Well, thank you. So your winemaking style, I would say, is probably one of the most recognized winemaking styles in Oregon. Most people, when they put their nose to a glass of Beaux Frères or Sequitur, they know that it's a Mike Etzel style wine. Can you talk to me a little about your winemaking styles, your philosophies, what makes your wines different than everybody else's?
Well, we focus, and you hear this all the time with winemakers, we truly focus in the vineyard.
Amen.
And what that means is we have very densely planted vines, and we ask the vine not to produce a lot of fruit by cutting more than half of the crop, in some vintages, half the crop off. And what that does is flavors. The plant is able to flavor the grapes. So we get a lot of flavor from the grapes because of the low yields. Minimal SO2, 10, 11 months of aging in the barrel. Now, I don't know why it makes it any different than others. I mean, other winemakers do that as well.
Well, you're also experimenting with amphora as well, correct?
Well, yes, there's an amphora right here, handmade in Italy, Florence. And
For those watching, can you talk about what amphora is and why it's different than oak?
the amphora is a larger container. It's like 600 liters. This is 228 liters. The amphora is 600 liters. It is made of clay. So you get some of the properties of oak, and that is a little porosity, but without the oak flavor. So you get more of a mineral-driven, the wines take on a little more of an animal character. I know that's a very loose term, animal, but you know, less than fruit and more complex. And so the 600 liters in a clay, the clay is, I'm not exactly sure where they get the clay from, but it certainly has an impact on the aging of the wine. It never sees the bottle that we label Sequitur Pinot Noir M4. And it's different. So we make 2 Pinot Noirs, oak age, and the M4.
Well, I love all the wines here, so.
Well, thank you. Thank you. We, our production is purposely low, 1,000 cases. I'm 70 years old, and this is more or less a 30 years, 40 years of making Beaux Frères, coming here, doing things slightly different, clonal selection in the vineyard. But by having 1,000 cases, I don't have to go out on a road selling. The demand and the supply are relatively equal. Therefore, I don't need to go out and have creative marketing programs, which is, you know, today marketing is so important. You got, not only do you have to make very, very good wine, you have to have as well, to survive in a very competitive market, an excellent marketing program. Well, having this farm, beautiful tasting room, having restaurants like yourself support us is enough for us to sell what we make.
No, absolutely. Well, that too, and just in general, like your wines are highly acclaimed here in the state, so, and just not the state, but all around. So people know what they're going to be getting when they're getting a bottle of Sequitur or Beaux Frères, because they associate it with you and your winemaking style, which is always high quality and delicious. So,
you know, one thing I will mention about consumer recognition. From the very beginning in the 80s, we had a vision, and we never lost sight of that vision. Pinot Noir, focusing at one time, Beaux Frères for 10 years, one wine on, maybe no, not quite, 95, so 92, 93, 94, and in 95 we came out with a second wine called Beaux, but it was Pinot Noir. But our pricing, our packaging, our market, we never deviated. We just, through business cycles, through economic downturns, through bad vintages, we never deviated. We never discounted. We just stayed the course. Partly was because we weren't leveraged financially. We could afford to hold inventory over. For instance, in 2008 and 2009, we had a vintage 2007, which the press, the publications were all saying it was a terrible vintage, coupled with an economic downturn. People were just devastated. And a lot of my colleagues discounted their wines. We just took it off the market inventoried it, released the wine, re-released the wine when the market returned. And '07 is one of my favorite vintages.
I like those sevens too.
It's lovely. It is ages just what you want in Pinot Noir. And those are the kind of decisions that coupled through the years that enabled Beaux Frères to be who we are.
Absolutely.
And the same thing here at Sequitur. We have not current vintage, but we have library wine of 14 all the way through 22. By the way, you got to try the 22. It's very good.
Easy that.
The current release.
Well, speaking of library vintages, what's unique about our restaurant, of course, is our collection of Oregon Pinot Noir.
Deep collection.
Very deep. We have a lot of guests that are coming from out of state, sometimes out of country, and they're not familiar with the 700 different wineries that we carry on our list. Can you
700?
Well, okay, 700 different selections, but we have about probably, I don't know, 50 plus wineries at least. But can you speak about what guests can expect from a bottle of Sequitur, whether it's a 14 or a 22, just kind of like overall what you envision the wine tasting like?
Because we don't do a lot of manipulation to the wine before it goes into the bottle, sometimes our young vintages are a little closed. Sometimes the tannin profile is a little elevated. But the beauty of that is ageability. Because we don't fine or filter, because we put the wines in that blending tank there, very tall and narrow, we leave it in that tank for 4 months before we bottle it, and it settles. All the sediment settles. So we can, what we call, wrap the clean juice in the bottle, directly in the bottle. So the wines go into the bottle without filtration and fining, and as a result, it permits the wine to age very well. 2014, our first vintage, third leaf fruit, right now is in a beautiful place, very animalistic. It's the fruit, the baby fat is gone. The pure fruit is now evolved into earth, minerality, very complex aromatics. And the 15, a lighter vintage, more red fruit, tea. The wines take on the expression of the vintage, which is so important. So not only what we try to do in Sequitur and at Beaux Frères, protect the integrity of the vineyard, no irrigation, that's one thing, as well as protecting the integrity of the vintage, because every vintage is different. So we like to let that express itself.
You like vintage variation?
Yes.
You want the wine to showcase like the year it was created?
Absolutely. Otherwise, I'm not going to eat at your restaurant. I'm going to go to McDonald's because I can always
Consistency.
All right. What the beauty of great wine and great restaurants is expression, soul, character, and that's what separates restaurants like you and wineries like me.
Well, couldn't have said it any better. Mike, really appreciate your time today. Thank you for your support for the restaurant.
Now, isn't this a dapper suit? I must say.